When we love, typically we feel whole and integrated, and our loving and caring feelings for the person we love on one hand and our sexual attraction for that person on the other do not contradict each other, but are rather interacting with each other in a synergistic way. We can say that love is a sort of unifying system that links feeling and desire in a constructive mix and allows us to take care for another and at the same time have sexual pleasure with that person. This is why we can use emonics as a synonym for love in the sense of complete erotic love. Emonics means to talk about the whole quite complex interplay of emotions and sexual feelings we experience when we love somebody. In fact, the term sexuality has very little meaning because of its restriction to genital arousal or activity. Emonics, by contrast, is much wider a term that is destined to help cognitive psychology and science to research about the nature and function of the loving bond between people. Emonics builds awareness of our emotional and sexual unity that implies knowledge and acceptance of our natural emotional attractions. To demonstrate what this awareness is about and how emonics can be used to functionally explain emotional and sexual complexity, I shall proceed a bit like Krishnamurti from negative to positive. While we cannot define love, we can show what is not love. Then, intuitively, we will understand what love is. The same is true regarding emonics. Rather than rigidly defining what it is, let us see what happens when it is not. Let's imagine that educator Bernard F. is working for a daycare center. He is a very dedicated and qualified daycare worker, and when he was interviewed and screened, nothing was found that could compromise his good reputation. He had a stable girlfriend, no criminal record, and very good work certificates. He seemed to be the ideal educator, and the children just loved him. And yet one day, Bernard was found to have had little sex games with some of the children, and everybody was horrified, including Bernard himself. He declared that he had been overwhelmed by a sudden desire that formerly he was not at all aware of. And we can believe him that he was really not aware of it before. He is not an exception. Most people who are not trained in emonics are not aware of their emotional setup. And that is exactly why so much happens and the laws are tightened without end, but with very sad results for all of us. The law can do nothing here. We have to raise consciousness about our emotional setup and our psychosexual development, for it's a dynamic process. Only on the basis of emonic awareness can we develop some form of natural and non-willful control over the play of our emotional and sexual attractions. All the drama that Bernard, the children and their parents went through when Bernard was found to have committed something society considers as extremely ugly could have been avoided if Bernard had previously been trained in emonic awareness. Bernard would have been conscious of his natural emotional predilection for children and thus able to foresee his reaction in a critical moment where his emotional longings, sexualized, were getting the overhand. He could have interfered by applying ratio, restraint and wisdom, while not judging his desires as bad, so as to cope with the situation and refrain himself as a result of his insight.